as well. They issued this warning because they saw a very strong updraft with this storm and an increase in lightning. So there is still some fuel for these storms to be working with. I'm going to check out our rain totals from today because I do feel as if we've had quite a bit. Okay, so this is just 3,900 since tonight. And still no reports of any damage here in our immediate viewing area, which is good news, nor do I have any reports of any flooding problems either. As we take a look at some of those other rainfall reports near the airport, about ½ an inch at St. Matthews Elementary, about 7/10 of an inch there. Really about up to an inch almost in Shively as well, 8/10 of an inch. So we do have quite a bit of heavy rain falling around the metro area right now. So here's a look at Max HD radar. I'm going to walk back over to the wall now, and Christina will be manning controls. We'll put that back into motion here in just a second, and we'll see really how quickly this activity is moving, although some of this is kind of training. We call these training storms because it's one cell after another, kind of like a train, and that's how you end up with possible flooding concerns as well. Christina, up there in the top right, there's a little gear, and it should give you options to change the animation speed. Change it from slow to very slow, please, and we'll get a better look at it. It's just easier to see, especially when they're moving this fast. So she slowed down that animation just a little bit, still moving to the east at about 80 miles per hour. But what I want to bring your attention to here is notice how these are kind of, it actually almost looks like a little bit of a train too. So we have this one cell between Crestwood and Anchorage. We have this other one from St. Matthews back towards U of L. And then this third little cell here from Shively through PRP and Valley Station. So we're getting some...
Alden, sorry to interrupt you, but we do have a new tornado warning that is in effect for Greene and Hart, Kentucky.
Okay, that's
this was
south.
just issued. So this is east of Munfordville. So I'm going to pan down so we can take a look at that. In addition to the severe thunderstorm warning that's in Oldham County, we also have this brand new tornado warning that I'm going to look at the details here for while I put the information up here.
Until 12:45 Central Time, so they are an hour behind us. Let's go ahead and stop this animation really quickly, and then we'll also throw on velocity. And we'll see where exactly this area of rotation is. So we have a new tornado warning that's just been issued for parts of Hart and Greene counties until 12:45 Central Time. Here is that rotation right there. So it's at the very western part. It is just to the east of Munfordville right now. Christina, how fast is this moving?
It's moving east at 70 miles per hour.
All right, let's leave up our velocity and put on that 70-mile-per-hour cone. We'll put it right here-ish. You can see where my finger is. We'll put it right there, and then we'll just drag it east. That'll take it through the top of Greene County and then into Taylor County as well. So Eve, you should be taking your safe spots right now. If you are awake, you might be hearing the sirens going off. If you have a weather radio, that's probably going off fairly loud right now. Eve, 12:21 a.m. Central Time. This area of circulation will be headed in your direction. Summersville, this area of rotation will be moving in at 12:27 a.m. Eastern Time, and then further off to the east, Whitewood and Wrights. You can also expect this. Campbellsville as well. Campbellsville, I know you are sensitive to tornado damage, of course, from the night of Mayfield. Hopefully, Christina, there's no confirmed report of a tornado, just some rotation, but still
Correct.
Go ahead and take that tornado safety precaution right now. Expect this storm to be entering Campbellsville at 1:37 in the morning, Elkhorn at 1:39 Eastern Time for Campbellsville and Elkhorn, Whitewood at 12:32 Central Time, and Summersville at 12:27 Central Time. So because we have a time zone change here, very important that we discern what time zone these storms are going to be moving in. Christina, let's check out our debris tracker just in case. I just want to see if there's anything showing up there. As you said, this was just radar indicated, and we do not see anything that looks like any potential debris, which is good news. If we were seeing something that was possibly debris, we would probably have a little blue dot showing up, but we don't right now. We only have the radar indicated rotation as we were seeing on velocity, which let's go back to velocity, our radar wind speeds. It's this area right here, and take off the warning really quick, and then we'll query some of those possible wind speeds as well to see what exactly we might be getting. Excuse me, I stepped off to set down my clicker. So 48-mile-per-hour wind speeds there, about let's look at that little blue spot right there. Let's see what some of those wind speeds might be. It looks like around 54 miles per hour, about 60 miles per hour. So these wind speeds aren't too high, but they are still rotating, which is why they went ahead and put out that new tornado warning until 12:45, 1:45 a.m. Central and Eastern times. Let's put this in the motion as well, and we'll also have that speed slow so we can see, so we can really get an idea of how it's been evolving. And Christina, did they say how fast that storm was moving? How fast did you say?
This is the storm that's moving east at 70 miles per hour.
Okay, so like pretty much every other storm that we've had tonight, it's moving very, very quickly. And this is why we have that tornado watch that's still in place until 3 a.m. Eastern time because of these quick moving storms through what's currently about to exit Hart County and into western portions of Greene County at the moment. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of those tornado safety tips as well. You always want to get down into the lowest level, most interior portion of whatever room you're in, away from those outside walls and windows. If you do not have a basement, an interior hallway or an interior bathroom or closet is also going to be a good idea. If you're in a taller building, there are already high rises down there, but you can still find an interior stairwell perhaps if you are in an apartment building, and you can take shelter there as well. You can cover yourself. If you're outside, you want to seek shelter in a building. If you can't, you want to get away from trees and cars, lie flat, face down and low on the ground, and protect the back of your heads with your arms. If you recall doing those tornado drills in elementary school or in middle and high school, that's what you want to do there. As Christina puts another storm track on this, it's moving very quickly, already out of Hart County. They'll probably trim the back edge of that warning down soon, but it's now entering eastern Greene County, this little rotation right here, east at 70 miles per hour. Summersville, 12:27 a.m., so within about the next 3 minutes, you might be hearing the sirens going off. If you are awake currently in Greene County, please call somebody and wake them up. It's better to go ahead and wake them up. They might not be too happy about it, but you want to be better safe than sorry in situations like this. We are not stranger to nighttime tornado events here in Kentucky. I'm going to keep referencing Mayfield. While we do not have a situation like Mayfield, that still was a nighttime event, and severe weather at night is particularly dangerous because you just can't see anything. It's dark, obviously. We also have some very heavy rain with this. Campbellsville, this storm will be making its way into your area in the central Taylor County at 1:37 Eastern time in the morning. Yuma about 1:41. And then it'll start to push further eastward out of our viewing area from there as well. Christina, let's put this into motion again, please, and we'll see how this area of rotation has evolved. It's looking like that if you were with us earlier when we had that tornadic cell near Tell City, it started off with some pretty strong rotation, but then it started to weaken fairly quickly as well. And as I was also saying earlier, east of I-65, which is running, here's I-65 right there. East of I-65, the environment is just not as good for these storms to maintain their strength and to have a long lifespan, as we would call it. I also want to note here, as that rotation continues to weaken, and they've just trimmed down that warning now, so now it's just exclusively pretty much the northern half of Greene County. We're getting a little bit of a bowing feature right here. So this might be evolving from less of a tornadic threat and into more of a straight line damaging wind threat, which, as we've also been saying now for the last couple of days, is the largest threat for us for tonight. Christina, let's pause this really quick, please. We'll zoom in again, and then we'll do some more wind speed analysis. Now, granted, this is a lot further south from radar, so it's going to be looking much higher into the storm. So excuse me, I thought for a second they had actually canceled the warning, but they hadn't. But we're looking at wind speeds of around 44 miles per hour, 40 miles per hour. What do we have?
At this point, it is moving to the east at 60. It was moving at 70, so it's slowed down a little bit.
Okay, let's go ahead and put on a new storm track for that then, since it's moving now at 60 miles per hour. Moving slower can be both a good and a bad thing. It's a bad thing in the sense that it can cause more damage if there was a tornado on the ground. It's a good thing in the sense that it allows you more lead time to get to your safe spot. So still in effect until 12:45 a.m. Central Time. So we have about roughly another 15 or so minutes on this, but it has slowed down. It's now moving to the east at roughly 60 miles per hour. We'll see it in Gabe at 12:29, really about 12:30 Central Time in Gabe and in Summersville. So within the next 3 minutes, Black Gnat at 12:36 Central Time in the morning, Wrights 1:38, Campbellsville 1:42. This is Eastern Time now. Elkhorn 1:45. Yuma 1:47, and Union Ridge School in the area of Union Ridge School at 1:47 a.m. as well. Let's leave everything on the screen right now, but I do want to again kind of just analyze this feature a little bit because we don't really have that strong rotation signature that we had before. There's still some rotation there, but it's also starting to bow out a little bit more, and when you have kind of a bowing feature like this, it's indicating more straight line winds. Excuse me. Let's put on our regular actually, hold on. Let's get this new. Okay, so we got this new scan here, maybe tightening up just a little bit more. Let's put this into motion again really quick now that we have this new scan. And we'll see if maybe it's starting to or trying to pick up its rotation. And I don't quite think so. It maybe is cycling just a little bit, but I also think it's a lot more it's a lot broader area of rotation compared to what it was before. And Christina, what was that new severe thunderstorm warning?
It is just an extension of the ones that we had around Jefferson County now for Henry, Oldham, and Shelby.
Okay.
That's until 2 o'clock in the morning.
All right, let's go back to our reflectivity mode, and then we'll quickly go back up to the metro area just to touch base on what exactly is happening up there. Only severe thunderstorm warnings for Metro Louisville, particularly off in the east end. That storm was moving very, very fast. That was moving off to the east at about 80 miles per hour. So as Christina drags us up back towards the Metro Louisville region, we'll see we still have this, well, first we have this heavy line right here south of the Bluegrass Parkway, so that tornado warned area, but up towards Oldham, Shelby, and Henry counties is where that severe thunderstorm warning is that was extended. Still includes parts of the east end right now, but I also see some pretty significant weakening here compared to those initial scans when we just went on about 5 or 6 minutes ago. Let's put this back into motion as well, and we'll see how this has evolved. And yes, it is weakening. Still a very strong storm, still seeing some high wind gusts up to, Christina, how strong are those wind gusts?
I believe 60 miles per hour. I'm double checking on this really fast.
Okay, so 60 mile per hour wind gusts, and it looks like they just dropped a warning as well. Can you confirm that?
Yes, so that warning that was expired was for Allen, Simpson, and Warren, Kentucky. So separate from what we're looking at right now. But the one that they just issued that we're looking at, yes, it is for 60 mile per hour wind gusts and just penny size hail, which is less than an inch in diameter.
And that's good because penny-sized hail isn't going to be causing any damage. If it was a quarter size or 1 inch in diameter, then you could maybe start to get some little minor dings. But what I also see here is some pretty dramatic weakening of these storms as they push east of I-65. I keep mentioning that because the environment to the east is just not quite as strong. Also, look at this line right here. That's the outflow boundary. It might cause some storms to pulse back up, but it's also going to result in this activity behind it weakening quite a bit more as well. All right, let's get back down south to that tornado warning. That's our immediate concern. As for our southernmost counties, it's in the northern half of Greene County at the moment, and it goes until 12:45 a.m. Central Time. Moving very quickly off to the east at about 60 miles per hour, so roughly highway speed. Some very heavy rain moving through there as well. You can kind of make out a little bit of a bowing feature, which is indicating most likely some of that very strong wind gust that could be making it down to the surface. We'll switch back to our velocity mode. We'll see if we can still make out some of that area of rotation. If there is a tornado, it would be right there now to the north of Somerville. Let's get in even closer here on that potential area of circulation. And that's going to be moving as we look at some more of those roads. It'll be near Coakley. Right now, you should be in your safe spot. Pretty much just to the north of Summersville, I would still be in your safe spot. Pittman, I would also be in your tornado shelter area. It's making its way towards Bengal as well. well, and also along Kentucky State Highway 323. Let's throw on our debris tracker again really quickly, just to be on the safe side. And this is good news. I do not see anything here that would indicate any type of debris. This is a very rural area as well, so especially if it's moving through a location, if there is a tornado, if it was moving through this area, it's also very rural, and if there are not any trees, debris tracker isn't going to be able to pick up on anything because nothing is being lofted those several thousands of feet into the atmosphere. And it looks like they've issued a new tornado warning.
Yes, that's for Greene, Marion, and Taylor until 2 o'clock.
Okay, so new tornado
time.
warning for Greene, Marion, and Taylor counties. It's for, we'll switch back to the wind speeds. It's for that area of rotation that I was just pointing out to you really quick, I believe, for just, yeah. So if you live near Greensburg, you're okay, but it's this region right here that we are concerned with, and it looks like it's maybe cycling a little bit, so that rotation is a little bit stronger than it was. So if you're in Saloma, you need to be taking shelter. Saloma, you were impacted by the night of the Mayfield tornadoes. It did cause some significant damage. I was just down in Saloma around the beginning of the year to check up on some families that were impacted by that tornado. This tornado warning also includes Campbellsville. So if you are in Taylor County, I encourage you to please take your tornado safety precautions. You are no stranger to this. It's unfortunate that it's happening again at night, and there are a lot of homes down there and a lot of folks that are still trying to rebuild after the night of Mayfield. Here's a look at that tornado track. Bengal, 1:33 a.m., so right now, Sweeneyville in the next 3 minutes as well. Arista, 1:41 a.m. Eastern Time. Union Ridge School, 1:43. Woolleyville at 1:44. Mansville at 1:47, Tallow Creek School at 1:49, and Merrimack at 1:51 a.m. So here's Arista, there's Sweeneyville. Sweeneyville, you should be taking your tornado safety right now. Arista at 1:41. Here is Union Ridge School, and I thought we were about to get a new scan moving in there as well. Let's clear off this track. We'll put this into motion, and I want to look at the history of this to see how exactly it's evolved, because I mentioned it possibly cycling a little bit, and that is what we see here. So the storm, it was moving east, and then it looks like it's taken a little bit now of a turn to the northeast, which is why we have this new warning that's separate from what was here in northern Taylor County, northern Greene County. It's now moving into Taylor County at highway speeds, again, 60 miles per hour, correct, Christina?
Yes, 60 miles per hour off to
So it's moving very, very quickly, and this is not going to give you very much lead time. And since it's the middle of the night too, that adds to the danger. In fact, you need to have just a way to get those alerts to your phone. Hopefully you've been woken up right now. If you are awake and you are watching us and you know somebody that's in Taylor County near Saloma and Campbellsville, please call them and wake them up and let them know of the potential of a tornado. Let's get down a little bit closer to street level so we can see those particularly small rural communities and figure out when exactly it'll be moving into their neck of the woods. We'll move the camera back to the west just a little bit. There we go, White Rose. It's on top of Pittman. Right now, you probably have some very strong winds. You should be in your safe spot. You should be in your safe spot if you're in a White Rose. Saloma in particular. Please seek your tornado safety precautions. Take those precautions. Be in the lowest level, most interior portion of whatever room you're in. You should especially be taking this situation seriously if you are in northern Taylor County, because I know that there are still some folks that are trying to rebuild their homes. I know that there are folks that are in temporary shelters still, so you need to be able to find somewhere safe to go. In fact, let's try to run through those tornado warning safety tips again, especially for anyone that might be in a mobile home. So here they are. And go to the basement or the smallest in a room of whatever building you're in, away from those outside walls and windows. Cover yourself if necessary. If you are in a taller structure, go to the lowest floor possible, or maybe an interior stairwell. If you're in a mobile home, that is the most dangerous place you could probably be. You need to try to find a sturdy shelter if you are not currently under that area of rotation. If you are outside, or if you have to go outside and you need to take shelter, get away from trees and cars. Trees are kind of like lightning rods, and you don't want to be, if lightning strikes a tree, it's going to strike you as well. But lie down flat, face first on the low ground, and protect the back of your head with your arms. Think back to those days in school when you had to do those tornado safety drills. Let's get back to radar now. Christina is focusing in on this area right here. It's just to the east of Pittman. Sonoma, you're getting some very strong winds at the moment. Let's do some wind speed analysis on this to get an idea of how strong some of these winds could be. Keep in mind, this is radar looking thousands of feet into the atmosphere, so these winds, although they don't look too strong, they are still fairly powerful. So 55 miles per hour, possibly mixing down to the surface or trying to. This is just to the north of Campbellsville as well, making its way towards Burlington and towards Phillipsburg, also in Findlay. Findlay, you were also impacted by the night of that Mayfield tornado. I remember because I remember being on the air when that debris ball, when that tornado was getting ready to move through. Please take your tornado precautions right now. Go ahead and seek shelter. There's no confirmed tornado on this, but it is far better to be safe than sorry here, especially after what happened the night of Mayfield. All right, let's clear off that 50 miles per hour, please. We are still watching this area of rotation right here. That's just to the northwest of Campbellsville. Let's shift the map just a little bit to the west, and then we'll put on another storm track. It's moving fairly quickly at 60 miles per hour. And we'll look at what some of these smaller communities are that could be in the path of this storm as it's kind of moving along almost parallel to State Highway 744, also making its way to U.S. Highway 65. Union Ridge School at 1:45, Woolleyville at 1:46 in the morning. These are all Eastern time now. Mansville at 1:49, Tallow Creek School at 1:51, Merrimack at 1:53. Looking at around 1:59 in Jacktown, White Oak about 1:59, and Sulphur Run School, which is right here behind me, Sulphur Run School at 1:55 a.m. Let's clear off this track really quick. I want to just focus a little bit more on this area of rotation here. It's not the tightest area of circulation that I've ever seen, but it is very clearly there. These green colors are winds that are headed towards the radar. Red is away. And if we put this back into motion, you'll kind of see that rotation with the storm as it moves through. So it's a somewhat broad area of rotation, but there are still some probably very heavy rain and very strong winds that are making their way down to the surface. I'm focusing really heavily on Taylor County here because I've been down there post Mayfield. I know that a lot of people have been scared after the night of Mayfield. That's why we are still on here tonight, and we're going to stay with you for as long as we need to until this tornado warning is expired or until the threat passes the area. So in the meantime, just take your tornado safety precautions. If you do not have a TV in your basement or something, you can watch us live on Facebook or on YouTube or on our free WHAS 11 app. I still don't see any debris signatures there. The app is free on the Google Play Store or the App Store. We also have meteorologist Sam Gabrielli. He is still here in the studio with us as well, live streaming. So if you have any particular questions that you want to ask, Sam is there too, and he can answer those questions for you. That's live on Facebook, on our WHAS 11 page, and on our YouTube. So as we continue to look at this tornado warning now, those strong winds, looks like the centermost area of that circulation is between Campbellsville and Sonoma. Christina, getting just a little bit closer here, I want to see if there's any community, particularly in between Sonoma and Campbellsville, as we get a new scan just in. Sweeneyville looks like the only one. So this is a largely rural area, but there are still folks that live down here, of course. And it's also making its way towards Spurlington is what that says, I believe. And let's go ahead and pull out just a little bit more. We'll put this back in the motion. That's a good spot. And we'll see, yeah, it's still just kind of a broad area of rotation. So I don't see anything that's definitive of a tornado, and which is a good thing, of course. And if anything, it might be starting to weaken a little bit as it continues to move further east of I-65, which, as I have continued to say all night, is not as good of an environment for any of these severe thunderstorms. Christina, I see you looking at chat. Do you have anything?
Yes, so they're going to expire the tornado warning for Greene County, Kentucky. That's what I have from the National Weather Service, as well as damage that was reported not with this tornado warning, but actually in Jefferson County, Kentucky, for whenever we go back to that severe thunderstorm.
What was that damage in Jefferson here in the metro?
So there's a large tree that was blown down onto a car on St. James Court in Louisville. That's a really popular place here.
Okay, let's go back to the metro really quick, and we'll also go back to our regular radar mode. and we'll see just what that heavy rain is doing up there. This is actually a good update to see now because a lot of that has weakened tremendously over the last 15 minutes. We still have this severe thunderstorm warning for Henry County. How long is that one go until?
Let me type that in. Also, Alden, 7,900 power outages.
In Metro Louisville?
Yes.
And that's the only area that's currently has those power outages?
I'm not sure about that. Our producers will check on that.
Okay, we'll get a map up of those power outages here shortly. First, let's see when this severe thunderstorm warning expires. That expires at 2 a.m., so about another 18 minutes on that. Yes, Sam?
We got a report too from a viewer saying in Scott County there's some without power as well. So a lot of our Indiana folks are likely without power as well.
All right, we'll have Dewey Jones, he's our producer, check on those other power outages across Kentucky and Indiana, and he'll report back with us here in just a moment. Christina, let's put this into motion here fairly quickly, and we'll see just how quickly a lot of this has weakened. And let's clear off that box really quick so I can point out this gust front right there. That's along I-265 in southern Indiana, about to head into New Albany. So you're probably going to notice some of those gusty winds moving into New Albany here fairly soon as well. But that activity behind it is not very strong at all, and it might try to pulse up some of this stuff here in the central area of the county, but otherwise that's it.
Alden, we also do have an aerial flood advisory. That's for Henry, Oldham, and Shelby counties.
Okay, so we've had some very heavy rain there. In fact, if you scroll down there on that hit, you'll probably find the precip today. Let's just see how much rain has fallen, and that'll give us an idea of, doesn't look like we really have any rain gauges there.
I'm wondering if some of it did switch over at midnight.
Some of it did, and I'm also looking at that corridor right there of those greens. There just aren't any rain gauges right there for us to look at. But if you go by the legend up here, some of those greens and yellows indicating possibly 1 up to 2 inches of rainfall. So that aerial flood advisory, that's probably why they have that out there. All right, let's get back to that tornado warning, as that is our primary concern right now as it pushes through at northern Taylor County. Still not confirmed, still just radar indicated rotation, but you should still be in your safe spot right now as that storm continues to push off to the east at roughly 60 miles per hour. We'll put back on our wind speed mode because in a situation like this, you can't really tell very much just looking at that normal radar that you're used to seeing. But this is looking at our Doppler wind speeds here. And you'll notice that along 744, State Highway 744, along US Highway 68, that's what that is. This rotation is not as strong as it was before, so that's more good news. And hopefully we'll continue to see that weakening trend, as it does look like it's weakened quite a bit there as it's continued to push through northern Taylor County at the moment. Bradfordsville, there is no warning for you. It's just off to your west, but I would still be aware of that storm and maybe be prepared just in case. Regardless of any tornadic activity, you are going to see some fairly gusty winds and some pretty heavy rain out of this storm as it pushes through your area as well. So just be aware of that. It also looks like they've trimmed down that box just a little bit. So Campbellsville, I would say that you're okay right now because this rotation is to your northeast. Saloma, I will also say that you're okay right now because that rotation is to your due east, but it is still moving fairly quickly. It'll be crossing out of Taylor County and into southern Marion County here, probably within about the next 10 to 15 minutes. We'll go ahead and put another track on that, Christina, and we'll drag it.
Yes, it's now moving at 55 miles per hour. Not a huge difference or a huge slowdown from that 60.
But still slowing down.
Yes, trending that direction. Because that first warning that was given in this area, it was moving around 70 miles per hour. So we are coming down ever so slowly.
And we just got a new scan in as well, and those it looks even less intense compared to what it was before, probably because it's just not in as good of an environment for tornadoes to be developing. So West School, that will be in your neck of the woods around 2:01 in the morning. Tallow Creek School about 1:51, so within around 5 minutes. Merrimack about 1:53. Pine Grove School at 1:56. Let's try to get in a little bit closer here, and so we can get those towns that actually pop up. You might have to redraw the cone when you do so. I'm not entirely sure, but it looks like it'll be moving out of that tornado warned area relatively soon, and then also out of our viewing area, which would also be a good thing for us. So here's Bradfordsville. It does not include Bradfordsville. There's Saleytown, there's Spurlington, there's Mansville, and there's Merrimack. So this is on the way toward Merrimack. If you are awake in Merrimack, I do suggest that you be paying close attention to this. And Christina will redraw that cone of 60 miles per hour, and then we'll see some of those smaller areas and some of those schools that are going to be in the path of this tornadic storm, as well as this is the area of rotation that we're watching just to the south of Spurlington, with probably some very gusty winds, but we still do not have any confirmation of a tornado, which is a good thing. So here's the Tallow Creek School, pretty much right along Kentucky State Highway 337, 1:52 a.m., so in less than 5 minutes. Rakes Hill School, or Rakeshill School, 1:54 a.m. Just got a new scan in. Radar's updating about every 2 or 3 minutes here. And this is that area of rotation that we're still watching. It is much weaker than what it was before, which is good news, right on top of State Highway 744 at the moment, continuing to push through northern Taylor County and getting ready to cross into Marion County as well. You can see the county line there between those two. And they haven't issued any new warnings, Christina, so are they talking about issuing something new or just letting this expire?
Probably just going to let this expire. I mean, that is a significant decrease really weakened with that last radar scan that came through pretty rapidly too. We did just get a new tornado warning in another part of Kentuckiana here, though. It's let's see, near Cynthia. That is in Harrison County, Kentucky.
Okay, so not in our viewing
Not
area.
in our immediate viewing area, but of course, if you do have friends or family that live near Cynthia in Harrison County, Kentucky, please make sure that they are awake and getting to their safe spot.
And our producer, if we have a map of those power outages, let's take a look at those really quickly, please. I believe that's on Web 3, you have those. Sam, yes?
I was going to add to Scott County, the report 1,200 without power in Scott County. That's that's our Indiana county with the highest amount of power outages so far.
Okay, that's up in Scottsburg. And Dewey, you can take off that radar there. There should be an option over on the left to toggle off the radar, so that'll just be a little bit easier to see. And
So
there's
we have a
also an
continuation of more of these storms
to show power outages by zip code, which would really help pin down where exactly those are. I would show you, but I'm out here. So here's that tornado warning until 2 a.m. Dewey, let me know when you're ready to go again with those. Oh, you're ready right now. Okay, so we'll switch back over to those power outages really quickly. So most of those are concentrated over on the east end. It looks like we have just about 7,000 without power. Okay, so 6,700 without power in the metro, 6,800 total. So some of those are just off to the east of the metro, probably up there near the Pewee Valley area. But those, say that again, please. Okay, can we pull up those maps too? Okay. So we also do have some power outages in Hart County, which is in our viewing area. Also Hopkins and Pendleton counties, which are not in our viewing area. And as Sam Gabrielli was just mentioning, up in Scott County, Indiana, 1,200 folks are without power there as well. So Christina brought this radar back to the north. There's that other tornado warning she was mentioning. That's in the Lexington, TV market right now.
Yes, and I do apologize for my pronunciation on that. I said Cynthia. It is, in fact, Cynthiana.
That's all right. We're discovering a lot of new towns here tonight. This is another line that we're watching, not severe. That's going to be pushing south. We got that gust front, which will result in some fairly gusty winds with that. And really, after this, let's pull all the way out. Let's see the entire viewing area, because after this line right here, I think we're largely going to be done. Yeah, so once this line here passes, that's currently moving through Scott, Floyd, Clark counties, Harrison County, Indiana, and near parts of Perry County. Once that passes, our severe weather threat is effectively going to be done for the night. And frankly, once this main line to our south here passes, we'll notice that severe weather threat also ending for the night, which is going to be very good. Let's pull up that tornado watch. I'm curious to see if they've dropped anything early. It goes until 3 a.m., but after this line passes, Okay, so we are getting closer to seeing some of these tornado watches being dropped, which is very good. Our northern 3 counties, Lawrence, Jackson, Jennings counties, no longer in the tornado watch. The threat is done for you. We'll continue to see these watches be pared down over the next hour. This watch goes until 3 a.m. And once the watch is canceled, then our threat is going to be done for the night, and it's going to continue to push off to the east. In the meantime, let's get back to actually, no, we'll stay here really quick. So it says 27-mile-per-hour wind gust in Shelbyville, but we got a little red spot there, so probably a gust over 50 miles per hour. 44-mile-per-hour wind gust here in Metro Louisville. Let's look at those sustained wind speeds. Just push back one spot, and we'll see what those winds are consistently blowing at. And those are around still that 20 to 25 mile per hour range. All right, let's go back to radar now. We'll stay on our velocity mode, and we'll look at that tornado warning. That's in Taylor County.
And great news for that tornado warning. We are going to allow that warning, or the National Weather Service rather, is going to allow that warning to expire. The circulation has just really gone down.
That is good news. That's very good news. So that'll expire at 2 a.m. We're still going to stay with you, though, until it passes. And it's really not anywhere as dramatic as what it was earlier. So more of a straight line wind threat now, but they're just going to go ahead and let that warning ride itself out. Here is U.S. Highway 68. There's Campbellsville. There's Saloma. Saloma, they've pared down this warning even more overall. So Saloma, you are pretty much out of the clear right now. You still probably have some gusty winds in Campbellsville. Mansville, you are still under the gun. So this warning will continue for about the next 8 minutes there. Bradfordsville, you are also just on the very northern tip of this polygon, so you are largely clear, but probably going to see some of those gusty winds. Let's put this into motion, please, and we'll analyze the life cycle of this rotation. Oh yeah, it's pretty much fallen apart. So it was much stronger there when it was moving out of Greene County into Taylor County, and now it's just lost a lot of its fuel, and it's really pretty much just fallen apart. So they'll let this warning expire. If we're fortunate enough, they'll even they'll even cancel it. But as she really just clicks through here very slowly, it's lost a lot of its juice. It still has some gusty winds though, and still has some very heavy rain, but the tornado threat is largely diminished now. In fact, put back on reflectivity, please, and we will see just how heavy some of this rain is. Even that doesn't look as strong as it once did before, Christina. No, it doesn't. It's really weakened quite a bit as it continues to push off to the east. Still some very heavy rain there in eastern Marion County that pushed through Bradfordsville. Got some heavy rain near Gravel Switch. You'll get another strong downpour there in central Greene County and moving toward Greensburg. But outside of that one tornado warning that's going to be allowed to expire in the next 8 minutes, there's really no other significant severe weather threat going on at the moment, just some very heavy rain. And other than that one flood advisory, we don't have any other flood concerns around the area, do we?
No, not that I'm seeing here. I mean, this kind of unfolded the way that we were talking about, that these storms would really start to lose juice as soon as they ended up to the east of 65. And you can kind of see that here when we are watching the entirety of the last hour.
Let's pull up the storm fuel map again, and I'm just curious to see how that has behaved. I'm not sure if you can loop that, but if you can, we will loop it too. It's already up there. Yeah, go down one. I can also see what Christina is looking at the screen, so that's why I'm able to point that out to her. So these red and orange shades are pointing out where we have some more moderate, maybe some high storm fuel. But that gust front that I was pointing out earlier, it's pushed so far out ahead of that main line that it's kind of cut off that fuel supply for a lot of those storms. Here's that tornado warning down there, and you can see that there's just pretty much no fuel for that storm to work with. So that's why it weakened so quickly. And Christina, can you put that into motion? I'm curious to see if we can see how even the storm fuel has evolved here. So it looks like not really.
I'll go ahead and put on the last 3 hours.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just curious. It's not really a big deal if we can't. but it does show you how earlier this evening we had all of that fuel out to our west, and now it's just really kind of started to weaken a bit as it continues to push off to the east, which is why those storms have weakened quite a bit as they move to the east. And outside of that one tornado warning, we don't have any other weather alerts in our area at the moment. So we're watching this line right here that's along I-64. Once that pushes through, that's pretty much going to mark the end of the severe weather threat for us tonight. Then we can have some kind of quieter weather for Saturday. It's still going to be very windy tomorrow. We'll have wind gusts tomorrow afternoon up to 40 to 50 miles per hour. Here's a look at that futurecast. Waking up tomorrow morning, maybe around 8:30. Wind gusts kind of similar to what we're currently experiencing, and that 30 to 40 mile per hour range. But with that sunshine into the early afternoon hours, we'll notice those wind gusts really beginning to pick back up, and that 40 to 50 mile per hour range, which could result in some trees down or some branches down, causing some power outages. When the ground is as wet as it is, as saturated as it is, the root balls of those trees are just weaker. And those high wind gusts blowing at the top of those trees, it does not take much to really blow those trees over. So we still have about 7,000 power outages here in the metro area. Dewey, if you're still... Okay, still about 7,000 power outages there in the metro, but we don't see any really widespread power outages like we did a few weeks ago with that windstorm, which is really, really good. And in fact, Dewey, if you can tell me how many power outages we have across the entire state, Indiana and Kentucky, that would really give us some good perspective, because during that windstorm, if you recall, we had about 500, 600,000 people across the entire state that were without power. So across the state, we have about 10,000 power outages in Kentucky, correct, Kentucky? Okay, about 10,000 power outages in Kentucky, which is peanuts just about compared to a few weeks ago. And that's 10,000 in Kentucky, and most of those are here in Metro Louisville because we have about 7,000 without power here. So it's fairly isolated really to the north central part of the state. These are our wind gusts currently up to about 32 miles per hour. They aren't gusting quite as high. Christina, let's get back to our radar and velocity really quickly.
And that also just came down from 44 miles per hour with this latest scan for our wind gusts.
Okay, good. So the wind gusts aren't quite as strong at the moment, but they will be picking up again. We've got a couple of minutes left on this tornado warning to our south, and I just want to spend the remaining time that we have here on that warning. But again, they're letting that warning expire because it's really moved into a much weaker area. And if we put it back on the velocity, we'll probably notice that, yeah, it's just really falling apart, which is a good thing, of course. But you still probably have some gusty winds in Mansville. Maybe trying to get something right back here towards Campbellsville, but I don't really, let's put that into motion just to keep an eye on it. We maybe have a very, very broad area of circulation right there on the Greene and Taylor County lines, but nothing quite yet that's resulting in any type of tornado discussion. What do we have back here towards Greensburg as well? Let's move the map up a little bit. Okay, so we're going to have to watch this spot right here in central Greene County. Put back on reflectivity really quick. I just want to see what the radar looks like. Okay, so there might be there might be a little something right there, but it's also not as strong, and it's relatively small too. So that could just be a regular kind of rotation that you get in strong thunderstorms, because strong thunderstorms do tend to rotate as is. But this is at the very tail end, and if we did see any new tornadic activity, it would be on the tail end of a line like this. Putting back on our velocity mode really quickly. We are going to keep an eye on that. We're also going to keep an eye on this. These are the two areas of rotation that we're kind of watching. Do you see any discussion about those, Christina?
Nothing about the potential redevelopment there, but they have allowed that tornado warning to expire as it's just hitting the top of the hour.
All right, so it's now 2 a.m. here on our Saturday morning, April 1st. This is not a prank. We have had some severe weather, significant severe weather across the central portions of the U.S. all day long. We have been on the eastern edge of this, and thankfully, compared to a lot of our friends off to the west, we have missed the worst of this activity. Confirmed tornadoes in Iowa, Arkansas, and Tennessee, as well as Illinois, causing significant damage. We have not had any confirmed tornadoes here, just some heavy rain and some very gusty winds. Here's the latest radar scan. Christina, you can see where exactly I'm keeping an eye on there. Those two little green and red couplets near Campbellsville and just passing to the south of Greensburg. They are very, very small, but you can still see where you have that green is moving towards the radar, red is moving away from the radar. So it's this area right there where we kind of have a little bit of that rotation.
Yeah, it does look like it's wanting to tighten up, and that was the area that was just outside of that tornado warning, but I'm not seeing any chatter about this at this point on the National Weather Service chat.
That's good, and they're going to keep an eye on that as well, because it's possible as it continues to push to the east into an area that's already been worked over, as we call it, by that earlier tornado warning when we had that cell move through. They probably just don't quite have as much juice to work with. In fact, let's just put this into motion and we'll see how they've evolved here, because they are relatively small, and I think they're, even with these last couple of scans, we're noticing it weaken even more. So concern on that is a little bit low, and unless they issue a new warning, I think we've already had that largest threat push out of fear, as that rotation is now in extreme southern Marion County, about to push out of our viewing area. It's just those two little spots right there in Taylor and Greene counties. Don't have anything occurring in Adair County at the moment, just some light to moderate rainfall. Let's go back to our reflectivity just to see what it looks like. And yeah, I think that's just some generally gusty winds. Let's get in a little bit closer there on those two spots. I don't really see any feature. I just think those are some gusty winds. We got a little bit of a bowing segment there, so probably just some bowing winds. We just got a new scan in. We'll go back to our velocity really quickly. I just want to look at one or two more scans of those before we clear the air here. So that's probably just a little bit of inflow that's moving into that, that's moving into those areas. If there was some broad rotation, it'd be very broad over Campbellsville right now, but nothing that looks to be too concerning or too tornadic. Any other flood reports or flood concerns?
I have not seen anything here. Sam, have you had any comments with your Facebook Live?
No, I haven't seen any reports of flooding, thankfully, which is the good news out of this. Now, Olden, I wanted to kind of ask, so that boundary, we see that the outflow boundary that's making its way over Louisville right now, how do you think that's going to play a factor when it comes to the storms as they arrive into Metro Louisville here? Do you see much in the way of a severe threat there?
No, not really, because this line right here hasn't been warned since it's been pushing through southern Indiana. They're being maintained by this little thin green line here, that outflow boundary. It's keeping those storms alive, but they're moving into an environment now that's been really worked over, so there's just not as much fuel to work with. The air is a lot cooler as well, and thunderstorms really need a rich, moist, warm environment for their life cycle. So we'll still get another bout of heavy rain. It's raining heavily in Charlestown, Sellersburg, New Albany, just passed through Cordon along I-64 there. Also some slightly moderate rainfall just to the east of Leavenworth. But after we get this line to push through Metro Louisville, we're going to see that severe weather threat come to an end. And in fact, Christina, have they canceled any more of that tornado watch?
I will click on that right now, and I thought that I had the lightning turned off, but actually there just hasn't been a whole lot of lightning at all, because I just made sure that was in fact turned on, and we're not seeing much lightning at all, so that's also some very good news.
And that's also a sign that these storms aren't as weak, or excuse me, that these storms are not as strong, because if you have lightning, that's letting you know that, okay, there's a lot of juice, there's a lot of energy with those storms. Doesn't look like they've cleared anything else out of that tornado watch quite yet. They have cleared Carroll County. Carroll County was added to a tornado watch not too long ago, well, a couple of hours ago now, until 5 a.m., but they've let that clear. And I imagine that the Weather Service is going to start to clear a lot of these counties as well, because the Cincinnati area has already cleared a lot of that activity too. Otherwise, we still have about 7,000 power outages in the metro area, 10,000 power outages in the state, but most of those, of course, are confined here to Metro Louisville. We don't have any other additional warnings right now. The severe threat is really beginning to end as it pushes east of our area. Once we get this line right here, that's right along the river, to push south, That's going to mark the end of the severe weather threat for your area. Lawrence, Jackson, Jennings counties, tornado watch has already been canceled. We'll see those warnings continue to be canceled. We'll see those watches continue to be canceled here over the next hour or so. So there's technically about 55 more minutes left on that tornado watch. Otherwise, we'll zoom in on our far southernmost counties here, Taylor, Adair, and Greene. Right now, the heaviest rain that we have is in Adair County over Columbia, but we don't have any significant rotation or any concerns for any tornadic activity. We'll put on our velocity mode just one more time here just to do a quick little analysis. Yeah, not seeing anything, just some gusty winds. Don't really have a couple there between Greensburg and Campbellsville, right there on the Taylor and Greene County line. Just some heavy rain in Columbia. Put this into motion, please, really quick. I just want to look to be on the safer side than sorry. Yeah, just really not a good environment here. Might have a little bit of inflow moving into a storm that's to the east of Greensburg, but don't see anything that really looks like rotation or tornadic activity. Let's put on our reflectivity again, please, if you're not busy. I know you've been looking
no,
at...
even better news, at least for the Louisville metro area. They're about to drop the watch for all of the Louisville metro.
All right, that's great news. Let's go back to that map really quickly, and hopefully we can see those counties drop on the watch, and then we'll see what areas are really going to be out of the clear. So if they're going to drop it for the entire metro area, at least assuming that means Metro Jefferson County, but it also probably means Bullitt County, Oldham, Spencer, and Shelby counties. Once that line passes, as I said, we're going to notice that threat coming to an end. So I'm going to stay on here until we get that watch canceled, just so we can see how far or how many counties that they have allowed that watch to be canceled for. And after that little line passes, that's when we'll notice that threat to end. It could take them a few minutes. So we'll go ahead and go back.
Just sent out. Okay, here we go. Cancels tornado watch for several counties. Look at that.
That's wonderful news. And there's that little flood advisory that you were mentioning as well. So really just our extreme, our western and southeastern most, northeast, eastern, yes, this is east. Our eastern and southern counties are the only ones that are left in this tornado watch, and they'll probably let those go soon soon too. So we got Washington County, Marion County, Taylor, Adair, and Greene counties in that tornado watch until 3 a.m. Just those 5. Oh, and Franklin County. So Frankfort's still in that tornado watch as well until 3 a.m. But those are going to be allowed to cancel here fairly quickly. So one more look at radar, and then we'll call it good for the night. We'll stay here until those final counties drop, and then we can just really look forward to a cooler day tomorrow and some much windier conditions moving through Adair County. Just that little thunderstorm that's pushing south. Nothing that's too severe, not even really anything severe in the Frankfort area. Put this into motion really quickly so we can notice that line there along I-64. And as that pushes south, it's going to continue to weaken, and we'll notice that threat coming to an end as well. So after this activity pushes out of Adair County and through Columbia, I bet they'll drop that watch there too. So thankfully, we are seeing our severe weather threat come to an end for the night. It has been a very long night. Thank you for tuning in and trusting us here at WHAS 11 for those severe weather alerts. And if we have any storm damage or any other power reports, we will be bringing those to you on Good Morning Kentuckiana starting at 6 a.m. Then again on our evening newscast on WHAS 11 News. Thanks for watching and have a good night.